Empire Magazine's exclusive first look at Jurassic World Rebirth is here, and this is it. Seriously. Don't get me wrong, there's still stuff in here that gets me excited about the movie, but I was expecting more? I did not expect last week's teaser image for the article to be the only new image for the article. Shout out to Jurassic Outpost for posting the whole thing on Twitter. I did buy the magazine. Like, last week I pre-ordered the physical magazine, expecting it any day now, because I thought it would be a big article and I wanted to show support for printed media, because, you know, it's kind of rough out there for them, but damn, they pulled the rug out from under me with this one. But in this video, I'm gonna go through the article, and since we're all here anyway, I'll also use this video to talk about a theory that is going around that I have a strong opinion on. But first, let's dive into that article. It's an interview with director Gareth Edwards, and the first quote I want to highlight is one that gets me really excited. After talking about how dinosaurs are a different kind of beast from something like Godzilla, the article reads, "So if Godzilla needed to be more of a disaster movie, this one allows Gareth Edwards to make an action horror of sorts. Much like, he points out, the original Jurassic Park." Gareth Edwards always references the original in these interviews, and that gets me really hopeful, but to see the word horror get used to describe the film, even if it's sandwiched by action and of sorts, gets me very excited that under Gareth's direction, the tone of the movie is going back to the more thrilling and suspenseful atmosphere of the first movie, rather than the bombastic spectacle that characterizes the Jurassic World movies. The article goes on to state that Edwards goes back to the original film again and again for inspiration, and it says Edwards was instantly impressed by Jurassic Park writer David Koepp's script for the new installment. "It goes back to what I loved about the original," he says. This is something I'll never get tired of hearing. The first movie was a masterpiece, it's my favorite movie ever, and although I doubt that magic can be recreated, I think the best course of action is to try and capture that same essence, that same atmosphere. As part of the quote that they already teased last week, Edwards says, "There were a lot of opportunities as a filmmaker to have a lot of fun and try and play games with the audience." Which makes me wonder if we have some surprises and plot twists coming our way. If he can pull that off, that'll certainly feel welcome, because I think one of the pitfalls of the franchise is how formulaic and predictable the sequels are. Rather than trying to capture that essence and atmosphere that I talked about earlier of the original Jurassic Park, I feel the sequels, especially the later ones, have had a very mathematical and soulless look at what was Jurassic Park, like what was the success of Jurassic Park, and then try to recreate some of those story beats like ticking a box on a to-do list. It's a very superficial take on what made the original work, and because it's a superficial take, they haven't been able to make the sequels work as well. I hope Edwards can give us something that has the spirit of the first movie, not a checklist. The article continues, describing the plot. "This will be a whole new chapter in the timeline of Jurassic, which blends elements of the Mission movie with some classic Monster Island antics. Set 5 years after the dino unleashing events of Jurassic World Dominion, it kicks off in a world which, for the most part, has proven unsuitable as a saurian habitat, with the great beasts retreating to equatorial regions. It is here that a crack team of specialists, picking up a shipwrecked family along the way, must track down and gather DNA from the chunkiest species for the benefit of humanity, and, more immediately, a big pharmaceutical company." I love that they use the word chunkiest. That last line, "for the immediate benefit of a pharmaceutical company," comes as no surprise. As soon as we knew Big Pharma was involved, I think we all knew we had our villain. I doubt this is one of the ways Edwards will be playing with the audience. This feels very predictable. But it would be nice if Martin Krebs, the Big Pharma guy, actually has his heart in the right place. It wouldn't be realistic, but at least it would be a nice change from discount Tim Cook. About the dinosaurs, the article writes, "It's too early for Edwards to reveal which species will appear, but he does confirm it will be a mix of old favorites and fresh meat." With the direct quote from Edwards being, There are new things in the film that I'm really excited about, but equally there are certain dinosaurs it would be a crime against cinema not to include. We discussed this quote last week when I covered the teaser for this article, which unfortunately hyped up this article way too much, and me by extension. But his quote, I think we can conclude that a couple of franchise staples will return. I think the T-Rex is pretty much confirmed, because which species is more iconic to the franchise than the one in 6 out of the 7 movie logos? I think this is the crime against cinema that he is referencing, if he were to not include it. Now personally, I'd be on board with the franchise stepping away from the T-Rex to give other big theropods the chance to shine, without always being compared to and having to share screen time with and having to battle the classic Rex. As much as I love the classic Rex. I've made it no secret that I really want the Spinosaurus to return, and I'm not alone in that, but I don't need a rematch of the JP3 fight. Moving on, the article describes Zora and hints at her character arc as a covert operation expert looking for meaning in her life after leaving the military, and this opportunity comes along where, after it, basically she'd never have to work again. But through that journey, she starts to question the ethical rights and wrongs of what they're doing. I think her character arc will go something like this. While she does care about whatever global crisis is going on, she's reluctant to go on this mission big pharma man Martin Krebs is recruiting her for. But Krebs offers her so much money for the job that she agrees. In a scene that possibly references the Kirby's tricking Alan Grant to come on their anniversary flight over Sorna. We might even get a line from Krebs like,
"I could write all kinds of numbers on this check, Dr. Grant."
So at the start, she's just in it for the money, right? Because this paycheck will give her the ultimate freedom for the rest of her life to figure out the meaning of her life. In turn, she goes to recruit paleontologist Henry Loomis for some much needed dino expertise on the island, and along with the rest of the crew, they go to the island to retrieve this DNA. The island in question still hasn't been revealed, by the way. Initially, Zora just sees the dinosaurs as a means to an end. Much like Claire, she sees them as assets. But on the island, and accompanied by an enthusiastic paleontologist, she learns that the animals should not be exploited, and that this whole endeavor has like a nefarious undercurrent that is slowly being revealed to her and to us as the viewer. Hopefully, Gareth Edwards and David Koepp have some surprises in store for us though, because as I'm theorizing and speculating, I have to state the obvious here. I love it when my predictions turn out to be wrong, because then that means that the script was unpredictable and I end up being surprised. I have that, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that moment in the theater, which is nice. Something interesting about the character of Zora Bennett is that the character wasn't gender specific in the script written by David Koepp, so they were open to cast either a male or female actor in the role. I really like that approach, in theory. Whether it works out in practice remains to be seen, but detaching a character from gender-specific traits and leaving the casting open is a really promising tactic in my opinion. They went with Scarlett Johansson for the role because they knew how eager she was to be in the franchise. Gareth says, "In the first ever meeting I had with Universal and Steven Spielberg, Steven mentioned how he'd once met Scarlett and she'd been super keen to be in a Jurassic film." That's super cute and really goes to show just how enthusiastic Scarlett is to be part of this franchise, and that means something. You know, sometimes you watch a movie and it's clear the actor just phoned it in. They're just here to pay off their mortgage, you know? No real care or investment for the movie or for the fans who pay money to come see the work. If an actor is sincerely passionate about a project, it will show. So that gets me really hyped about her part in the movie. And the article ends with Gareth praising Scarlett for how on board she was to slog through extreme conditions. It really paints a picture that she gave it her all, and again, I'm really looking forward to seeing her character, and of course this movie overall. Some extreme conditions specifically mentioned are mangrove swamps and being thrown into the ocean. Mangrove swamps I see has people already whispering Spinosaurus. And I get it. It's something a lot of us, myself included, want so badly that I think we're seeing what we want to see. It's like a confirmation bias. but in reality a mangrove swamp could be home to anything. Like the Therizinosaurus scene in Dominion was kind of a swampy setting, right? And it didn't mean Spinosaurus. And isn't the idea of a Spinosaurus being a swamp dweller kind of outdated anyway? And it's not like a swamp was its environment in JP3 either. So all that just to say, I wouldn't latch onto the swamp environment too much. It's of course a possibility, but at the moment all we have are rumors. There's no evidence yet. That being said, even in the absence of evidence, I do think Spinosaurus has a really good chance at returning to the franchise, because I think the creators know how much we want it, and I think this new installment is very much a reaction to the backlash to Dominion. I think there's a conscious want to please the fans, and Spinosaurus would be a good way to do that, and they know that. The line about being thrown into the ocean references the scene we saw some behind the scenes footage of a while ago, of something attacking a military looking ship that our main crew is going to be on, which obviously previously already attacked the ship that the family was on, the shipwrecked family. If Scarlett's character was literally thrown into the ocean as part of this scene, it's going to be a much more intense and higher stakes scene than I initially thought. Unfortunately, the new image for the article they spoiled last week, which still baffles me. I thought them releasing an image a week ahead of the article meant there would be more images. I don't think that was a crazy assumption on my part, but I want to apologize for clearly misinterpreting that and passing my personal hype and expectations along to you guys. I really thought there would be more to this article, specifically more images. And it does make me wonder when the marketing for this film is really gonna kick off. Summer next year is not that far away when it comes to marketing your big blockbuster, and for that reason I do still expect the first trailer before the end of the year, but they are keeping us on the edge of our seats a little bit longer it seems. As a silver lining kind of person, I do want to point out to all my fellow disappointed Jurassic fans that were expecting more from this article, that maybe it's a good thing we didn't get a full, multiple page spread look quite yet. Because that would get the ball rolling for spoiling way too much of the movie before our butts are even in the theater seats. Let's hope that is the consideration, and that consideration extends to the eventual trailer, and it won't spoil too much. Editing Evo here, because while editing, I got the Google alert for another exclusive first look at Jurassic World Rebirth, this one for Vanity Fair. It has a behind-the-scenes image of the same scene we've seen twice before. I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be the main scene in the first teaser trailer that will be showing up for the movie, as they seem to have picked this one as being safe to show content for without spoiling anything. There is something about this one image that has sparked a wild fan theory in the past week, and I quickly want to address it. In this image we see Zora wearing a coin necklace. Brooklyn, from Chaos Theory, also wears a coin necklace. And thus, the theory, it is the exact same necklace, passed from Brooklyn to Zora, meaning that Zora knows Brooklyn. Just like the mention of swamp being interpreted as a hint for Spinosaurus, I think people are just seeing what they want to see. First off, coin necklaces or any sort of round pendant are just really common. I think it's just a coincidence and is most likely a thoughtless pick from the costume designer. I really don't think we need to think about the necklace any deeper than that. If it has any meaning, if it's addressed in any way, I think it's a Saint Michael the Archangel pendant because he is the patron saint of the military, and we know Zora is a former military operative. You can buy silver pendants of Saint Michael that say United States and Saint Michael protect me in many different variations. It's a very common thing. So what is most likely here? That Zora Bennett, former military operative looking for meaning in her life, is wearing a Saint Michael patron saint of the military pendant, or just a random coin pendant because she thought it was pretty, or she's wearing the exact same dinosaur coin pendant we saw Brooklyn wear in Chaos Theory. I don't know, what do you think? I think it's one of the first two. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, I guess we gotta be patient.